どうも皆様いらっしゃいませ。ヴァンパイア続きをプレイしていきます。前回終わったところの近くうろうろしてたら隠れ家を見つけたので、この上に血の跡があった。ネズミがいて、
I can't believe I'm doing this.
この中は違う隠れ家だったので、ちょっとレベルアップしようかななんて思ってます。なんか作れないかな。アップグレードのレベルを上げたいがハンドル部品が足りない。中古のトゲのついた子。今もうレベル2なんだ。ダメージを強化するか。とりあえずハンドリング強化。またはだもんな。ダメージかスタンか。スタンが18になる。11はでかいね。上げとこう。 OK。 普通のハンドル部品になるやつなんかないよな。薬はよしとしてレベルナップできるかな。965。スタミナはまだあれだったかな。レベルが10必要だね。体力を上げて、それで10になるから、また経験値貯めて、またスタミナに振るっていう。次の夜なんかなったな。不明な健康状態。地区の状態深刻だ。敵がいる。隠れ家の近くに。こんな近くに。バカめが。どうだ、痛いか。なんでその連続攻撃は。スタミナがなかった。かわす。一発目が入るともう全部入る。落ちちゃった。なんか落としてない。拾えないの。さっと回復させてプレイ。よし。普通のハンドル部品でどこ行ったらいいんだ。こっちじゃない。普通にまた敵いるな。ここ前回のとこだ。もう無益な争いはしなくていいだろう。リスポーンするんだね。また間違えた。見てるだけ。また回復をしちゃう。 汚せ普通のハンドル部品、トリガー部品か。こっちだ。インフルエンザ。これスカルじゃない？そういうやつらを倒せるんだ、あいつら。ネズミ。
This is despicable.
炎の処刑人。
It's locked, all right.
普通にいっぱいいるけど。倒しとこう。
It's closed.
固まってる。
Did you hear it?
ちょうどこっち向きやがった。
Clutch the leech, boys! Murdering bastard!
ほら、ほい、ほいだ。飛びつく。死んだ。ネジ。素材集めをしっかりしていこう。なんかマーカーつけてるとか。
There's one of them!
僕です。
He's dead!
さあ子供めがメッセよ。いっぱいいるな。間違えた。振り回して勝てると思うね。うわ。スタミナが。僕もぶん回してるだけじゃ勝てんな。間違えた。これがしたいのに間違えちゃう。虎視眈々と周りを狙ってんだよこっちはよ。よいしょ。痛いの。バカめが死ぬぞせ。強かった。ここでいいのかな。あ、違うな、左だね。こっちだ。
Whitechapel. This neighborhood is linked somehow to the kind Lady Ashbury's blackmail. First, let's find this Petrescu fellow.
ラスク。フレガがどうのこうのって出てたな。大バッグ入りのショットガンシェル。 死んでるのか。右に曲がってます。これ、あ、銃声が。
Are you all right?
The bastard hit the wall next to me. I don't even know if he meant to miss.
If you've been hurt, I can help you. I'm a doctor.
Name's Albert. Remember it. Now bugger off.
覚えとけ。君が探していた男性が死んだ。
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? If you know anything about her, I'd appreciate it.
Never heard of her. She's pretty, I'll keep an eye out.
What happened? Did you really steal that man's medication?
Hey, I didn't do anything, it ain't me.
狙いやすい相手を選んだんだね。
Medication and drugs are a rare commodity in East London. So you picked an easy target, didn't you?
Sod off, mister. You ain't got no clue what's going on here. Bastard was a soldier in the war, so now he's got the right to shoot me.
It's true. I'm not familiar with this part of town. Perhaps you could help me.
I said sod off. Go find yourself another guide.
意味とかして。
I found the recruiter you were expecting. He's dead, but he carried a note. The Wet Boot Boys have accepted your application.
I knew it! I told you I was tough enough. I'll be free soon.
君はとても騙されやすいね。
You're being manipulated by these criminals. What's worse is that you're clever enough to know better.
You're all fancy words, none of which concern me. Go worry about someone else. I'm fine and I have a future here.
Goodbye, young man.
なんかミッションに成功したの。
Proud of me.
経験値が60もらえ
It's all a bloody joke to you, isn't it? Stealing drugs. What?
Shooting a boy in the middle of a street. Not the best thing to do, wouldn't you say?
What? You saw what happened? Who are you?
I'm Dr. Reed, and I'd like to ask you a few questions, if you promise me to set your gun aside.
No. Look, I'm not a violent man. I'm Benjamin Palmer,
た。ベンジャミ
doctor.
ン・パーマー。なんか聞いたことある。
No one can help me. Not even you.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? Have you heard anything?
It's funny, I've been searching for her too. I need some pills. But the woman is a phantom, if you ask me.
Really? And why is that?
Word is she ain't real. She's a cover for some doctor who runs an illegal dispensary for migrants.
What can you tell me about this place?
Nothing to say, really. This is where I used to live, and this is where I live now.
前はもっといい暮らしをしてたのか。
You mean you used to have a better life?
Yeah, I had a wife, a home, and a job. I even used to have a name. Now I'm just Ben. Ben the Tramp.
You don't have anywhere to go? No family that would welcome you?
Not since the death of my wife, Albert's mother. She was sick, you see. Long before the flu and all this shit.
な
Perhaps you could focus for a moment and tell me your troubles.
I'm sick, broke, and my son just stole my pills. Everything's coming up roses.
お息子なんだ。
Whatever the boy did, I'm sure he didn't deserve a public execution.
I swear I didn't want to hit him. It's just that I'm sick in the head, you see, and the boy just frayed me last nerve.
What is it, Benjamin? It was the war, wasn't it? Your nerves are shot, aren't they? I need some answers, Private. From one soldier to another.
The doctors called me a liar, a coward. Put me in a straitjacket, locked me up. Finally, they sent me back to the front lines with a handful of tablets.
しっかりするんだ。
What about those we left behind, face down in the mud? You want to change places with them? You cannot waste your chance at life this way.
It's not that simple. I wouldn't have expected you to understand. I don't even know why I spoke to you in the first place.
ヒント取得に失敗。こんなんがあるんだ。
A gun, alcohol, and a bad temper make a terrible cocktail, sir. Goodbye for now.
失敗した。右。なんかまたたくさんの人がいらっしゃいますね。うろついちゃうね。誰か死んでる。シガレットケースと指輪を盗んだ。ブレスとネジ。誰かいる。
The Swanborough cordial can be the answer to all your problems,
こんにちは。
as long as you have the money.
Good evening, miss.
Good evening, sir. Are you interested in a miraculous cure for this unknown and deadly
ひ
epidemic?
まわりを。
Actually, I am.
Then you have come to the right place. The famous Swanborough cordial is all you need to help keep you in perfect health.
Oh, really? Why didn't I hear about it during my studies? I'm Jonathan Reed, by the way. Dr. Jonathan Reed.
Ah, my brother has spoken of your research, sir. I'm Loretta Swanborough, and it's always a pleasure to meet a fellow healer.
しゆし。
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? I'd like to know more about her.
I don't like to talk about competition.
Competition? you say?
Never met her, but it seems she provides some sort of medical care to the poor. The whole thing has to be some sort of scam, if you ask me.
Tell me, who intrigues you most in Whitechapel?
The region itself is something to see, but I would say Camellia the mute florist who gives away her flowers.
What do you think of the locals?
Most of them are afraid or desperate. They all come to me eventually for my remedy.
Is there anyone I should avoid?
Cadogan Bates, without a doubt.
Cadogan
The bloody
Bates.
bastard remorselessly exploits poor migrants as soon as they get here.
まだ会ったことないね。ヒントが必要。品物を
I'd
見
like
せ
to
て。
see what kind of medicine you're selling.
ワンボローコーディアル。ラテン語で書かれた素材リストがついたワンボローコーディアル。やってみよう。素材にリサイクルできる。ありがとう。こっち。
I cannot enter.
赤だ。待って、まだなんかマーカーが。ここだ。コンコンコンコン。
What do you want? Leave me alone.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I'm looking for Nurse Dorothy Crane.
There is no Dorothy Crane here. Now goodbye.
I'm afraid this medical
はい、さようなら。
says the opposite, sir.
Really? Well, I'm afraid I'm going to close this door right now. Go bother someone else, Mr. Doctor.
To enter that house, I must discover who this man really is. Maybe I could start by observing what he's up to. I must insist, sir. Please let me see Nurse
もう
Crane.
帽子
I
しか見え
have
んか
no
った。
time for you, sir.
どうやって。どっかから盗み聞き、盗み見するんだな。ここが。あれ、出てった。開くんか、ここ。気管支炎とかになってんじゃん。どっから、ぐるっと逆から入れるか。 入れない。あ、ブロシークリー
It's
ン書いて
locked,
る。
all right.
いるじゃん。ここ上飛べるかな。
There's no one in.
This elixir will give you faith again.
見てればいいのかな。なんか赤いのが出るはずなんだから。
Nobody at home.
.どこだ？あちゃ。診療所。不明。
I cannot enter.
ふん？あ、出た。あ、なんだ、急に出た。
A strange man was at the door with a pass for our medical facility. I refused him entry.
Darius, how could you know he didn't need our help?
His clothes were too finely tailored to be from Whitechapel.
Perhaps just a friend of that stray poet who is always about.
Richard Nethercott? No, not of the same cloth, this man. I suspect some machination from that journalist.
Clayton Darby. Is he still asking questions?
Yes. I saw him drifting around St. Mary's Church. I swear he is tracking me just downwind.
ドロシー・クレインの右腕だ。
I must talk to that journalist or the poet. They must know about Darius. Nearby the church they just mentioned.
教会の近く。不明。不明。
Good quality. Come on, take a look. Don't Welcome, be afraid. Sir. Please take a browse of my wares.
I am Dr. Reed. I would like to ask you a few questions if you don't mind.
Doctor? Interesting. I'm Barrett Lewis. Usually I don't have time to waste with talk, but at this hour of the night I can hardly refuse.
Have you heard of a nurse called Dorothy Crane?
Nurse Crane? So the bitch really is a nurse then? Always thought she was just some crafty foreigner, that one.
彼女は素晴らしい看護師ですよ。
Yes, she's a nurse, and quite a good one. What did she do to gain such notoriety?
Dorothy Crane ain't even a real name. Something like Dorothea Craniu. Something like that. Came to England fleeing the war, I was told.
That doesn't explain why she irritates you so much.
Your precious Nurse Crane gives away medical supplies and prescriptions for free. I offered to sell it for a fair cut, but no. Miss Crane wanted to play the quiet saint.
調子はどう？
How is business around here?
Business? I had no business. Between this racket, theft, and customers getting scared, I'm losing money every day.
I see. Sounds like you blame someone in particular for your situation.
It's no secret Joe Peterson spends his time harassing merchants. But with me, he's trying to put me out of business once and for all.
ジョー・ピーター。
As a merchant, you see Whitechapel every day. Have you noticed anything out of the ordinary recently?
Well, you mean besides the epidemic, the war, and all the usual crap? As long as I can remember, this part of town has been a bottomless pit, and no sign of the bottom yet.
Violence is increasing in the borough.
Yeah. A few nights ago, some blokes jumped me. Came out of one of the condemned workshops. Fever, madness, something like that.
Where did this
スカ
happen?
ルじゃね？
Why did you go there?
In the closed workshops nearby. I worked there as an apprentice in better days. Now I only go to find trinkets or tools. Too bad I was mugged, though. There was good money in that little box of loot I lost.
なるほど。いや、新しいミ
Have
ッ
you
ション
been
だね。
hurt?
No, but that's only because I ran like hell. Those men were raving lunatics, I tell you. Not even able to speak anymore, just screaming.
スカルだね。それ
Right then. Show me what you have.
普通のハンドル部品1個ある。いや、2個あるな。2個買わせてもらおう。こんなのも買っといた方がいいかな。あれ、普通のハンドル部品じゃね、買わなきゃいけない。こっちだ。よし。結構品揃えいいじゃんね。頑張ってな。商売。
I should never have taken up my father's
おい
business.、
嫌がらせマン。
Excuse me, sir. I have a few questions for you.
Another journalist? I didn't answer the first one, so piss off!
I'm not a journalist,
Piss
I'm a doctor.
off.
A doctor, you say? It's quite a rare breed in this part of town.
Really? But still, here I am. Dr. Jonathan Reed, at your service.
I'm Joe Peterson to some, but Colossus Joe to most. And I don't remember asking for your service, sir.
Have you heard of a nurse named Dorothy Crane? She's a colleague of mine and is supposed to live around here.
Dorothy Crane? Yeah, I know her. One of the few good souls who dare to help the sick around here.
Could you please tell me more about her?
She's a nice girl. Tries to help the migrants. I offered to give her a hand, but she said my reputation would attract too much attention.
この人も根はいい人なのか？
According to you, physicians are scarce in this part of town. Why is that?
Not familiar with this neighborhood, are you? I guess your fancy colleagues are too afraid of being stabbed in the back.
This part of town does have quite a reputation. Would you say it's justified?
Totally. Look at me, for instance. I always look my opponent in the eye before knocking him out.
May I ask what you do around here?
I do whatever I want, and sometimes even more. Now sod off.
人を脅しつけて楽しいんですか？
How did you become the local bully everyone is afraid of, Joe?
There's no pride in roughing up poor bastards. But this is the only job I've found. And it pays well, too.
A job? So you're racketeering for someone else?
I got enlisted by the Wet Boot Boys, a gang from the docks. I'm their muscle for their dirty work.
断れたはずだが。
Most people don't become thugs when unemployed. This is a choice you made.
I don't care what you think, sir. I do what I have to do for my own reasons, and that's that.
I'm not sure Mr. Lewis would agree with your by all means necessary philosophy, sir.
Oh, do you really think he's the poor victim here? Barrett can be as sneaky as anyone. Long ago, I even called the bastard my best friend.
かつては良き友人だった。いい経験値持ってんね。なし。
Goodbye, Mr. Peterson. Hello, young man. I'm Dr.
Young
Reed,
man.
and I would like to ask you a few questions. May I enter, please?
Sorry, no, sir. My father does not like people entering our house, you see.
入れてくれ。
Your father is worried about you, boy. He asked me to look for you.
So my father actually worries about me then? Okay then. Come on in. I'm Harry, by the way. Is there only pain and suffering in this world?
ピーターソンの家。もらい。金庫あり。
So, may I ask you a few questions?
I'm not bothered. What could be worse?
疲労してるね。
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? I'd like to know more about her.
Yes, I know her. She came here to examine me when I was very sick. She said I should go out more.
気分はどう？
How do you feel?
I'm
How
fine.
do you feel?
I mean, it's not easy every day, but I'm fine. I'm just tired of being sick all the time. If only I could be tough like... Well, you know.
Speaking of which, what can you tell me about your father?
My father is an idiot who makes idiot things. That's all I have to say.
Forgive my bluntness, young man, but you don't seem happy living in Whitechapel.
Why should I? I never wanted to come here in the first place. It was my father's decision. And look around you. Does this look like a nice place to live?
家と呼べる場所があるやんけ。
You have a roof over your head, a place to call home. Many people here are not as lucky, you know.
That's exactly what my father says. Harry, you should be grateful for what you've got. But I wasn't even consulted when we moved here.
なぜここから出ないの？
If life here is so terrible for you, why don't you just leave this place? Have you ever spoken to your father about it?
I don't go outside. It terrifies me so. I went outside once without my father noticing and I saw terrible things. Bloody and frightening things.
So that's why you stay at home all day? For fear of the epidemic?
I'm not afraid of disease or death, Dr. Reed. It's the living I'm afraid of.
バレット・ルイスと君の父親について。
Your father and Mr. Lewis used to be good friends. What happened, Harry?
I was young then. I don't remember Mr. Lewis ever coming back again after my mother died. Or was it after my father started bullying him? I don't know.
Have you tried speaking to Mr. Lewis about it?
I don't go out often, but yes. And he scolded me and told me to leave him alone. I guess my father frightens him too much.
But you are not responsible for your father's actions.
Am I not? Dad always says that he joined that gang for my safety. So if I wasn't born, people wouldn't be worrying about Colossus Joe.
Goodbye, young man.
さよなら。
Take care of yourself.
体に気をつけて。
Even my dreams are soaked with
ホワイ
glue.
ト。他に何かないですか？おい、いい家じゃんね。
Is there only pain
2階もあるし。
suffering in this world?
暖炉まであるし。大きい箱。
It's locked.
ちー。採用見送りの手紙。背景ピーターソン様。港湾での求人へのご応募についてお断りのご連絡を差し上げなければなりません。病気のご子息を抱え最愛の奥様を亡くされた中、私どもの事務所までご足労をいただき、またご自身の大変な状況についてご説明いただきありがとうございました。しかしながら弊社の方針において前科者は雇用しない旨が明示されている事実もお伝えしなければなりません。残念ながら悪名高いウェットブートボーイズとピーターソン様の関係性について確認いたしました。今は厳しい時代です。フィンチ&ハーバーではご応募いただいた方に少々調査をさせていただいた上で合格した候補者を優先させていただいております。誠に残念なことではありますが、 ピーターソン様とご家族に神のご加護がありますようお祈り申し上げます。警具 RD ハーバー、お断りされたらしい。お祈りメールが。プロのヴァンパイアハンター。もし誰かがヴァンパイアかもしれないと思っても自分で殺そうとしてはいけない。あなたに勝ち目はない。代わりに私に連絡するか、プロのヴァンパイア殺しに情報提供を試みてほしい。人数は少ないが、彼らはこの邪悪な生物に対して何をすべきか知っている。彼らの一部はロンドンのヴァンパイアを一掃するために身を捧げる民兵組織、ガード・オブ・プリウェンの名の下で共に戦っている。彼らはあなたの友人だ。あなたは一人ではない。解決方法はあるのだ。賢くなろう。そして他の人にも広めてほしい。クラレンス・クロスリー。より詳しくは私に直接連絡してほしい。なもんだな。じゃあな。あれ、ここじゃねえ、出口。グッバイ。おい。この辺に、この人。教会の人だな。
Forgive my interruption.
Do not apologize, my son. Father Tobias Whitaker is always happy to teach mortals about the incoming Armageddon.
I am Dr. Jonathan Reed, and I just have a few questions.
A scientist? You are much more lost than I thought, my son.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? I'd like to know more about her.
I don't like the liberal ideas of nurses, but I especially abhor that Nurse Crane you mentioned.
So you're not exactly a fan of Florence Nightingale's work. But nurses are essential for modern healthcare.
Nuns should be the only women allowed to take care of male patients. It's obvious only they have the necessary moral fiber.
Why do you hate Nurse Crane more than other nurses?
Before coming to London, she was a member of the communist resistance in our country. That's what happens when you let a woman get involved in politics.
レジスタンスだった。母国でのドロシーは秘密裏に活動するレジスタンスだった。
What do you mean when you say that I am more lost than you thought?
All scientists are entangled in a world of causes and consequences. And most of them can't see the plain truth.
Quite a judgmental opinion, if you ask me. But what do I know? Blinded by science as I am.
But you are seeking answers, aren't you? Answers about the Armageddon about to strike the city. Answers about the hidden truth.
聞いてます。
Well, I suppose I can spare a few minutes listening to your so-called truth.
As a doctor, you must be aware of the decimating epidemic. But let me tell you that this so-called Spanish flu is just the beginning of the end.
What do you mean?
The beast is finally revealing itself, corrupting the flesh and the heart of men. With my own eyes I have seen them, those minions from the abyss.
あなたの計画は
Really? And what would be your answer to this biblical threat?
We must fight the disease before this legion outnumbers us. But not with scalpels and microscopes. No.
What is left then?
Cleansing fire.
Cleansing fire.
Tell me, Tobias, what exactly is your plan concerning the cleansing of this city?
God will recognize his own. More than once this city has risen from the ashes, hardened and purified by the flames.
しかし、境目はどこに置くんですか?
Purification by fire has proved useful, but where do you stop? Burn the clothes? The buildings? The corpses? Worse?
Your lack of faith is predictable. But my task is to convince rational minds like yours to see the light. This is God's will.
You're mad. and dangerous. You're nothing but a soulless butcher. A small-time Torquemada. The Savonarola of Whitechapel.
My son, if you think salvation is a free gift, go listen to the lies of that pompous fool, Joseph.
Joseph, a fool?
Vicar Larrabee of St. Mary's Church. While he continues preaching his fraudulent redemption, more and more people die in the streets.
What do you mean when you say...
All
quite a...
you...
I am. But the answers I seek are based on facts, not superstition. Have you any friends? Any family left in these terrible times?
No. But I have a disciple I see as my son. He is so devoted. I sent him to preach the good word in the heart of this corrupted city.
Where did you send him?
I sent Samuel to the Stonebridge Cemetery, where the pestilence and evil grows night after night.
You sent him on some preaching crusade during the epidemic?
As a true believer, Samuel will fear no evil while he walks through the valley of the shadow of death.
I have heard enough for tonight.
今日はもうたくさんです。この辺にクレイトンか時間なのでもういい加減クレイトンにしてくれ。
Excuse me, sir. Are you familiar with this part of town? Name's Clayton Darby, reporter.
Sorry, I'm new to Whitechapel. But perhaps you could help me since you're a journalist. My name is Jonathan Reed.
Dr. Reed, the famous surgeon. I'll gladly help if I'm able, sir.
地下活動的な医療救護所について。
I heard you're investigating an underground medical dispensary in Whitechapel. What do you know about it?
Not much, I'm afraid. They are wary of strangers, and I'm not really an acquaintance of theirs. Why do you care?
知っている看護師の信用問題で。
I'm afraid one of the nurses from the Pembroke Hospital may be involved with unsavory activities.
Ah, could it be Dorothy Crane?
Without a doubt, you are a damn fine journalist, Mr. Darby. What do you know of her accomplice, a man named Darius?
I don't know much about the man. He's very cautious. Never goes out. Doesn't seem to have any friends or family.
He has no relatives at all?
No. Except for that strange man, a poet named Richard Nethercott, who sometimes comes by. Darius would never let him in.
Where can I find this Mr. Nethercott?
He spends most of his time lurking around Whitechapel, talking to himself or declaring verses. These days, you can usually find him behind the church.
He never goes out?
No. A few days ago, he unexpectedly did. I followed him, but it was just a ruse to keep me away from his house.
Really? How do you know?
He went to the nearest mailbox, but just before posting his letter, he ripped it up and threw it away.
What is a journalist doing in this borough after sunset?
He goes where none of his colleagues would dare to go, to inform the country.
So you risk your life to reveal the truth. I saw many reporters do the same during the war.
Whitechapel is the crucible of so many untold stories and tragedies. I want people to know them.
That's quite honorable of you. But is the public interested?
Not at all, sir. And that's why I'm an independent journalist, hoping to sell some stories.
Why are the newspapers keeping silent about the Spanish influenza? It's as though none of you care.
There's a war going on. People shouldn't be demoralized by news of deadly diseases.
I served in France. Our top priority must be to put an end to this butchery. This war must stop now.
Sir, streets are a battlefield too. An invisible and untold war is going on, and it must be stopped.
Have you any idea of the danger you face in these streets at night?
I've had to run and hide more than once from frenzied mobs incensed by the fever. Do you think the flu is really responsible for this, Doctor?
I must confess, some of my rational views have been shaken by recent events.
I'll remember to stay away from the district's roughest streets then.
Goodbye, Mr. Darby. Farewell.
Farewell. あともう一人。郵便ポストと手紙を見つける。頑張ってその今ついてる分は終わらせよう。教会の裏手で独り言で待って、別に浮かされて頭おかしくなってるやついるじゃん。間違えた。スタミナがなぜか無敵です。このところ見られるわけにはいかんぞ。間違えた。よいしょ。バカね。ない。この先立ち入り禁止。普通に果物売ってるけど。この辺にいるらしいね。これクエストじゃん。
Some of us come to this world already touched by.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I would like to ask you a few questions.
Please be my guest. Although I may not be the best informant regarding this part of town, my words speak about that which the eyes cannot see.
Really? Are you an artist of some kind?
I'm a poet, sir. Richard Nethercott, at your service.
May I ask you a few questions about the district?
Extraordinary part of town, is it not? I'll be glad to help you, if I can.
I'm looking for Dorothy Crane, a nurse who lives in this vicinity.
Dorothy Crane. Oh, I love the name. The Crane of Whitechapel. Sounds very mysterious. But, sorry, no, never heard of her.
What can you tell me about an old man called Darius?
Darius Petrescu? Yes, I know him. At first, I thought he was only a small publisher. I invited him to publish my work, but his reaction was pretty clear.
Not interested in your talent?
Darius is an old political activist who takes delight in printing tracts and lampoons. Those communist activities only require mediocre writing skills.
ルーマニアの政治活動家だった。
Are you aware that your life could be in danger in this part of town?
But this is where I must be to feel the real beat of the city. I had to come, see it for myself, alone.
危険ですよ。
I understand your need for solitude, but it's not safe around here.
I don't care. I don't have many friends, Doctor, and my family despises me.
If some misfortune came upon you, who would be here to help you?
Well, you for a start, my dear doctor.
May I ask what you're doing at this hour of night, sir? Do you live here?
Not at all. I'm just enjoying the pleasure of a quiet walk. Though night talks are always preferable, if you ask me. Especially with strangers.
But are you not afraid of the epidemic?
Oh, why should I? I see some equity in the Spanish flu. No flesh should be saved, say the scriptures. Good or evil, rich or poor, all are equal in the eyes of the flu.
If you say so. But as a physician in a time of epidemic, I must caution you to avoid unnecessary exposure, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. But we both know the seeker of truth has to go boldly where the weak dare not.
What are your thoughts on the terrible situation in this city?
Terrible, you say? No. Of course, the death of so many innocents is a tragedy. But the scourge has not been all bad for the city. Oh, no, sir.
What are you talking about?
Do you remember London before the flu? Noisy, cacophonic, quiet nowhere to be found. And now, listen to this oddly peaceful silence.
大変独特な視点を持っておられますな。
Yes. The enjoyable silence of the grave. You have a unique perspective on the situation, I must admit.
Most people fail to understand my perspective. I don't blame them. But how could I call myself a poet if I veiled my feelings?
Tell me, Mr. Nethercott, why seek inspiration in Whitechapel?
The place is not beautiful per se, but how to explain it? Stirring and challenging.
In what way, exactly?
The struggle by gaslight, the barren smiles and the added hunger under the rain.
If you say so.
Such vibrant antagonism and vivid paradox. The stripped humanity raged across each street.
Vivid, of course, yes. And what about the poignant distress?
Oh yes, the poignant distress. You see what I mean, don't you? That's what I want to write about, and that's what Whitechapel is made of.
Do you not think it a little morbid?
On the contrary, sir. Whitechapel is full of life, full of beauty. Just like my dear muse, the wonderful Camellia.
What can you tell me about Camellia?
Not much. And that's the beauty of it. She can't speak, you know. She's a locked mystery who exhales kindness and sweetness.
Perhaps you're just afraid to find out the truth about your muse.
One day, perhaps, I'll ask her to come with me. But will she still be my wild flower of Whitechapel if she moves uptown?
And have you ever tried to learn more about her? Where she lives? How she survives? Whom she may know?
Maybe I prefer she remains an enigma. Reality can be so dull, don't you think?
なるほど。
I'll leave you alone, sir.
管理ポストじゃない、郵便ポストと手紙。頑張れ。見つけた。有限会社シコファント出版ロンドンラベンダーコートカムデン通り背景ニセルコット様詩集をご送付いただきましてありがとうございました。破れた年の歌は興味深いものでした。また初めて詩集をご送付いただいた時にお伝えしたように、深遠なものでした。残念ながら我が国は現在困難な時代に直面しており、このようなタイトルの本の出版は不適切であるとご承知おきいただかなければなりません。そのためニセルコット様がタイトルの変更を拒否し続け、全文の公表が不可能な場合は出版の取りやめを主張なさっていることから申し訳ございませんが、私どもシコファント出版は出版の中止を決定いたしましたことをお伝えいたします。敬具 AGこの手紙じゃねえのか。確かに郵便ポストではないもん。誰かいる。もう話ばかり。もうおしゃべりゲーとなっている。花がある。無料健康診断のクーポンが花の間に隠されていた小さな花だ。カメリアの紐。密かに配布している。 ダリウス・ペトレスクの手紙。私の大切な最も愛する子供たちへ、何ヶ月も音沙汰がなくてごめんよ。ロンドンの状況は相変わらず厳しい。わがままで愚かしく聞こえることは分かっている。お前たちは未だ戦火に焼かれる国にいるのにな。だがここイギリスでも戦争は起きている。貧困と不公平との戦いだ。私はもう年だが、それでもこの戦争で戦うつもりだ。それが今日私がお前たちに手紙を書いた理由だよ。私はルーマニアには戻らないだろう。それは死ぬ前にお前たちに会うことは叶わないという意味でもある。悲しまないでおくれ。お前たちはもう大人だ。そして自分たちの子供だっている。世界をより良い場所にするためには時に犠牲も必要だとお前たちは知っているね。これは私がもう一度まだ人の役に立てると思えるように今払わねばならないものだ。お前たちが末永く幸せであるように。孫たちに私の分のキスを送っておくれ。そしてお前たちの父はこの冷たいジメジメとした国でもいつでもお前たちを愛していることを忘れないでおくれ。いつでも子供たちを愛する父、ダリウス・ペトレスク。
The content of Darius' letter to his children could give me more leverage to enter.
利用できそう。
Darius is a bit less of a mystery now. It should not be that difficult to incite him to let me in.
了解。それでは頑張りました。今回はここまでにしたいと思います。またの花がある。次回はこのおそらく喋れない方ですよねの方と喋りつつ、またダリウスのところに向かいたいと思います。それでは最後までご視聴いただきありがとうございました。また次回をお楽しみに。ホープでした。